You're listening to Breakaway Wealth, the show designed to help you build wealth faster, think bigger, and break out of the herd. Now, here's your host, Jim Oliver. Before we jump into today's show, we have some exciting news to share with you. Our brand new online community platform is now live. Get access to free on-demand, in-depth training courses on topics like infinite banking, cryptocurrency, real estate investing, and much more. Just go to community.createtailwind.com. That's community.createtailwind.com, or check out the show notes of this episode to find the direct link to request to join the community. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, I'm excited to have these two guys because we're going to talk a little crypto, and we're going to talk about some other stuff on how to break away from the herd. And with me today is Geary and Dane Bollwinkel. I said it wrong.
Hey, it's going on. It's great to be here.
You know, when I was a kid, it just, like that cartoon, Bollwinkel and Rocky and Bullwinkle. See that? I just can't, my brain went there. But anyway,
I joke with people at this point, if you could think of a new joke, I'd be really impressed.
I know. Well, I think there was a really good football player, but I can't think of that guy's first name. Anyway, all right, guys. So that the audience doesn't turn this off because of my ranting, let's. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll jump in because I love what you guys are doing. We've had a few conversations, and I think it's different than anyone else in this crypto space. And for most of the audience that has listened, I have a little bit of involvement in this space, but what you guys are doing is different. So I really want to jump into that. But go ahead and introduce yourselves.
All right, Corey, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Geary. I live in Puerto Rico. I've been in crypto now for a few years. I started, though, my entrepreneur journey in real estate, and I was in real estate for 8 or so years, and that's how I met Dane, was from Real Estate Masterminds. And real estate's been great. It did well for me. I always tell people real estate saved my life because when I got into real estate, I was going nowhere fast. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I was single. And who knows where I'd be at, but by being around like-minded people, I was able to level up my life. And now I'm sober for many years. I got a family, and I live in Puerto Rico because of the money I've made from real estate. And but in the last couple of years, I really started taking crypto serious. I joined some masterminds. I hired a private mentor. I started going to events. And I was making so much money in passive income from my crypto portfolio that I wound my real estate company down and moved to Puerto Rico. And so now all I do all day long is I do crypto and hang out with my family here on this beautiful tropical island. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Love it. I love it. Dane, how about you?
Yeah, and just like Corey said, we met at a real estate mastermind. Man, I went and did way too much school. I thought that corporate America would be my golden ticket to life, and I just had a rude awakening. I was in corporate not for super long, for about 4 years, and just found it was going to take a ton of butt kissing and a ton of work that, frankly, I just didn't want to do in order to try to climb those ranks. And the last company I was at, I was the second to last hire in the entire company. Before they froze hiring, 3 months later, they laid everybody off. And it was one of the biggest blessings in my life that occurred. And when we talk about, how you've come to do what you do, I think it's really important to point out. Corey and I both have been influenced real heavily by God to be able to do the things that we do today. I feel like being laid off was a massive blessing. Led me to real estate investing. My very first deal, I was out of money. It took 8 months to be able to get to that place. And I kneeled down. I said, God, I feel like I'm in the right place, but this just isn't working. I need to make some money one way or another, and I need you to shake some things loose. And so, so with some determination and some work, I've got a list to market to. And I said, I'm going to call these people till I lose my house and lose our cars, or I make some money, unbeknownst to my wife. And so in about 45 days later, I closed a deal for 70. I made $70,000 profit in one swing on a wholesale deal, and God gave me the grace to be able to go and build a real estate investment company. But gosh, like as much as we've been blessed by real estate, there's a lot to be said about trying to find ways to put your money to work for you. And that's where cryptocurrency really is kind of like the belle of the ball when it comes to investing. There is nothing as passive as cryptocurrency when it comes to making real passive income. We love real estate, but gosh, like there's not many people that can build a rental portfolio that truly is passive. Whereas in crypto, once you build it, you can kind of set it and forget it for 12 to 24 months. And the upside is far greater than anything else you can do. And so that's kind of our background and what's led us to what we do today.
Awesome. Corey, yeah, I mean, you guys have a great story. I love that. It seems like, for people out there that have ever read Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker, Unlocking the Infinite Banking Concept, which, by the way, I think just crypto and infinite banking go hand in hand. And they when people do infinite banking, they're looking for, what do I do with that money? Right. And a lot of people, they don't want to be active. Some people come to us and they're already active real estate investors, and that's cool. Right. Or they buy 20 trucks a year for their business, or they're a dentist and they finance their operatories. But a lot of people don't know what to do with the money that they run through their insurance contract. But to echo your story, the way that Nelson didn't discover infinite banking. I mean, it was already there, but he kind of communicated it to the everyday person. Banks and corporations and really wealthy people knew. But he was on his knees at 3 a.m., Dane, praying because he owed $500 and some thousand. This is back in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was at 23%. Is what he owed.
Oh, wow.
And he realized, hey, wait a minute, my brother, who was a State Farm agent, sold him these insurance contracts. I wonder if I could borrow money from there. And he found out that he could borrow money at 8% from those policies instead of 23% or whatever it was. And so that's kind of how that was born, and how he, got this communication, because he said, hey, God, show me a way out of this. So I think that's, it's not ever fun when we're in that valley, but we learn a lot in that valley. And we know, and then when we're on the mountain, it's like, hey, yeah, those valleys, we need those to kind of give us clarity. So
Right.
You guys were in real estate. You've already broken away from the herd, the 9 to 5. You realize, let's go back to that. And I'd like an answer from each one of you guys. But what do you guys see as the biggest hurdle for that? I mean, for you, 4 years is great. I mean, only 4 years, and then you decide. But, I want to help people out there that feel like they just haven't, they've bought into the noise. They think their 401k is their biggest asset, along with the equity in their home, which is, both of those things are not your biggest asset. And, or you don't want them to be your biggest asset. If they are, you're in trouble. But, what do you tell people, or what do you think, what would you tell somebody that just maybe they're afraid, maybe that's just fear and anxiety of breaking away?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer kind of first here. You got to get down to the root cause on why they're not pursuing entrepreneurship. I mean, I got a lot of friends who, I used to work in a casino business. And so like these guys, they're just drifting through life. They're going out drinking every single weekend. They're partying. They don't have no interest in going out and trying to be successful and create a business. That's just not what appeals to them. They rather just go out and get drunk and try to get laid. That's like their whole life model. And so you got to find out why is it, if it's someone who's afraid, then you need to start educating them and maybe showing some books and start pointing them to maybe some mentors and to try to break away from that fear. But it's really, I would say the most people just don't have the desire or the that fire inside. Entrepreneurs, man, I always tell people, like, we have like a bit of a screw loose inside of us. Like, we'll go out there and take massive risk and do these things that, like, your common person just doesn't do. And that's also why, we're successful. That's also how we lose money too. Like, I've been beat down so many times. Like, I mean, I can't even count now, but like, I've also made a bunch of money too. And so it's about finding the why, and they have to really want it. If they don't want it, they're not going to get it. They're just not. And it wasn't until I really woke up, even though I was just chasing the dollar, when I really started leveling up and started making a lot of money, and I started leveling up spiritually, physically, mentally. Those are my 4 pillars. It was when I started loving myself and knowing that I deserve the abundance that the world and God has to offer me. But before that, I didn't have that love for myself. I didn't think I deserved the abundance. And so it's hard, man. It's really hard, but it's about finding what's going on inside the person. And so, yeah, there's my rant on it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add, in addition, I think that, like for instance, I was in an event this weekend and talking with a gentleman that's been in corporate for 20 years, and he's like, when do you know when it's time to take the leap? And frankly, at least in my experience, I don't think there's like a good time to ever do that. There's often not a good time to have a baby. There's not a good time to necessarily go spend money on tires for your vehicle unless you blow one. Like, there's lots of things in life where there's just never like a convenient time. And so it really comes down to you and what you want. And here's a fact. The fact of the matter is that inflation is only going up. The value of our dollars is only going down. And you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to put yourselves in a position where you can be all right financially. I was talking with my little brother a few months ago. He and his business partner, they took the summer off because they'd done really well in the first half of the year, and now they're paying the price for it because like they're trying to spin things back up again and trying to build momentum again. And I think with uncertain times ahead, you owe it to yourself to put in the work to build a skill set that, irrespective of what the market does, irrespective of what corporate America or a job might have you think or want you to do, you have a skill set that you can bring a meaningful service and value to the economy and make a nice income irrespective of those things, And so that's what I would say.
It's funny because I'm a big Dan Sullivan fan. I think he's brilliant.
Oh yeah, us too.
And I love the new books that he's writing with Benjamin Hardy too. But he had this old system. It was like a 12 lesson. He put it on an iPad, or not an iPad, an iPod when I got it. So that tells you how long ago it's been. But he put it on this little iPod for 1 year. And it was so good. It used to, I think, come in cassette tapes or CDs or something. Oh, yeah. But it was called Always Be Increasing Your Confidence. And, kind of what you guys are talking about is that confidence and commitment and vision. And it's like, if you just start writing stuff down, I'm a huge believer. I can't reach it right now, but I have one of those sketch pads. I got them all over the place. And, there are these big sketch pads. And I just take a sharp, I have this, like this is some of my stuff, right? And to most people, you could look at that and think, I don't know what that says exactly. But to me, it's like that's taking my thoughts and my vision and then, kind of starting to get it into a mind map. And I think that, the fact that people will take action is I think a key. And so you guys talk about that. And I love that. All right, let's get into the crypto stuff, because this is, I think I talk to people all the time about crypto, and I'm not even close to the level of understanding as you guys have. But when I talk to people have no idea. And they try to try to talk about Bitcoin, and then they'll kind of screw that up. And then they'll try to talk about the purpose of crypto, and then they'll screw that up. And what it really comes down to is they have no idea. They don't get it. So just give me like a 1 or 2 minute kind of overview of how you guys got into crypto, what you see the future of crypto being, and then we'll get into your unique approach to investing in crypto.
Okay, cool. I'll take this one. So, at a really simplistic level, cryptocurrency was built to give freedom back to the people, back to you and me, and they do that through a few different mechanisms. We won't get into the specifics of that, but long story short, I think everybody's very aware that right now you have someone like Jerome Powell, that's not an elected official, who is in charge of the Federal Reserve. In charge of how much money is printed or not printed. And then you have people like Nancy Pelosi that have a $200,000 a year salary as a politician, but magically she's the best trader in the history of the world and is worth tens of millions of dollars today. Well, that's not by luck, and it's certainly not by skill. It's just by being closer to the information than the rest of us. And she can use the policies that they create in the government to send money from Jerome Powell to her and her buddies. It's a rigged system. It absolutely is. And so that's where cryptocurrency comes in. It comes in to be able to give, once again, freedom and power back to normal people, to the citizens, just like us here on this show. And once again, we could talk about the mechanisms. We can get into that a little bit later. But that's the purpose of it, to make it so you can be your own bank, so you can have real freedom, and so you can have monetary policies, and you can have money that, rather than being printed into oblivion and losing value over time, your money can actually become more valuable. It's a really strange concept to most people, where they're like, I could keep my money and it actually increase my buying power over time. And that's what cryptocurrency does. If you're in the right cryptocurrencies and you have the right time frames in mind and you have a strategy, it's a true investment class. And Corey and I found that when we started treating it as a real investment class that could give us freedom, we learned to be our own bank. We learned how to protect ourselves and our money, and we learned how to invest and be patient. Our money can literally grow for us, and it's not that difficult. You just need to have the right pieces and put them in place in the right order, have the right time horizons. And if you can do that, you can change your life in an enormous way. And so that's crypto in a very oversimplified nutshell.
And awesome. Dane hit the nail on the head there. I would like to add one other aspect to this, is that cryptocurrency was invented to give us permissionless, peer-to-peer, censorship-resistant transactions. It was invented to give us self-sovereignty. And I really want to dive into one of those words, and that word is permissionless. That is a beautiful word, permissionless. In fact, everything we do in our life requires permission. We go to the bank and we take cash out. That requires the bank's permission. We use our credit card. There's a third party there allowing us to use our money. We write a check. There's still the bank and their permission. Anything we do requires permission. True crypto is the only thing in your life now that is permissionless, where we are our own bank. In fact, we weren't our own bank until we were like, I think the last time we were our own bank is when we had the piggy bank under our bed and we had all the money stuck in there and we would break it open with a hammer. As soon as our parents took us down at 16 years old or however it was to open up a savings account, we stopped being our own bank and we stopped having to, we were no longer our own custodian anymore. And we had to require permission. So permissionless is a beautiful word to me, and that really embodies the total ethos of true cryptocurrency. And that's why I really love this space.
Yeah, no, I love everything, because you guys know we've talked before, and we're in sync on our beliefs, and it's really about freedom. Because one thing I love about my life is I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And I'm not saying the days aren't challenging, but I like that. I love that freedom, trying to teach other people that freedom. And, the way that look at what the government's doing to the dollar is if most people are exchanging time for money and they're debasing that money, then that means they're debasing your time. And if your life on this earth is measured in time, then they're debasing your life, and another way to say it is stealing your life. And that's the very definition of slavery. And there's a great book called Thank God for Bitcoin by Jimmy Song. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that book, but it's great. And in, when we think about principles, and you think about whether you believe in the Bible or you don't believe in the Bible, you can't argue with the principles, because all the principles in Think and Grow Rich and How to Win with Friends and Influence People and The Strangest Secret and all that, I could give you Bible verses for every one of those books and every one of the key concepts in those books, even the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So, whether you think it's just a book or you think that it truly is God's word, that's up to you. But you can't argue with the accuracy and the truth of the lessons in the book. So crypto is like the people's money. And you really have to understand what's happening to know what to do. And I love that you guys start with that. And you're talking about inflation, and you're talking about the Federal Reserve, and it all comes down to what people don't want to hear, is that we're financial slaves, and to some degree, and crypto frees people from that. And even if you think the U.S. government is going to, do whatever you think it's going to do, it's not going to do that in South America, Central America, Eastern Europe. It's not, because guess what? All those people, they've got their motives too on why they don't want to have the dollar as the standard, right? So, all right, so you guys get into crypto. I remember the first time my business partner and most of my crypto stuff said to me, Jim, this is 2017. He says, "Hey, what do you know about cryptocurrency?" And I said, "You mean Bitcoin?" And he said, "No, there's lots of different cryptocurrencies." And I said, "No, Bob, you don't understand. I just know that word Bitcoin. That's all I know about cryptocurrency." And 4 months later, we were up and running. And so talk about what you guys do. Because, okay, here's what everybody's going to say, like, wonders, right? Now I can't even think of what that thing is called, the guy that's going to jail for the rest of his life, FTX or something?
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. So they say, well, that's cryptocurrency. That's why he's going to jail. No, it has nothing. I mean, you could have done the same thing on Wall Street, could have done the same thing with banks. It's, but talk about kind of how you guys see cryptocurrency in the future. And is it 5 years away, 10 years away? I hear people say, Bitcoin should be 250,000 or 500,000 per Bitcoin. And by the way, I do believe that it will be there someday. But like, just talk about where you see Bitcoin going and why you want to be on that Bitcoin or on that cryptocurrency train.
You take this one, Corey, and I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's unpeel back the layers of Sam Bankman-Fried just for a second, just for a split second. He was the exact opposite of crypto. So cryptocurrency is invented to empower you and have self-sovereignty and teach you to be your own bank. It was invented to get rid of middlemen. It was invented to get rid of counterparty risk, which, because the purpose, that's what banks and governments are. They're just, middleman and counterparty risk, and they destroy our currency. Sam Bankman-Fried and all his cronies and, even other centralized exchanges is the opposite of cryptocurrency. Those are middlemen. We want to be our own bank. We want to learn to have self-sovereignty. We need to step up our financial responsibilities. And that's what cryptocurrency teaches us. So that's right. I tell this story. After FTX collapsed, I went home for Christmas, and my dad, he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, I heard your Bitcoin went to jail." I was like,
wow.
I was like, what? And he was talking about FTX, not when the debacle was first unwinding. And I was like, that is exact opposite of why cryptocurrency was invented. Remember, it was invented to have, permissionless, censorship-resistant transactions, to teach us to be our own bank, to teach us to have self-sovereignty, to teach us these ethoses that what basically are human rights. That and so that's that's on Sam Bankman-Fried. I forget the second part of the question because that got me off on that
Well,
tangent.
let me really quick just to follow that up. So,
Yeah.
So here's a really good example. Like most people, this is how most people treat cryptocurrency. It's kind of like, it's like going to vacation in Mexico, for instance. Somebody that's in the U.S., they transact in U.S. dollars. They go to Mexico, they need pesos. We stop at the money exchange in the airport, most people, and you swap your dollars for pesos. And then you take the pesos with you and you go and you spend them however you see fit on your vacation. And then when it's time, when you're done, if you have anything left over, then you bring your pesos back to the money exchange, swap them back for dollars, and then you go home. The key is that each time you go to the money exchange, you take the money with you. Whereas most people in cryptocurrency, they go to the money exchange, they go to the centralized exchange, kind of like FTX, for instance, or Coinbase, Robinhood, Kraken. They go to the centralized entity, which we need right now to be able to trade our dollars for crypto. But then when they get there, these guys give you shiny, cool ideas and reasons why you should leave your money with them. And most people say, oh, those are great reasons. I guess I'll leave my money here. And then they leave and they go off and they do whatever they're going to do. And they hope that these people treat them well. They hope that they honor these agreements that they may have and keep their money safe. And you have people like Sam Bankman-Fried that are fraudsters that do not. Whereas if all people did was understand how to take the extra step of going to the money exchange and then taking their money with them, securing it in their own wallet so that they were safe, well, then they wouldn't have those issues. None of the guys in our group were taken to the bank by Sam Bankman-Fried because we know how to operate. We know how to be our own bank. And so that's a good analogy of how people ought to think about what they're doing when they come and buy cryptocurrency. Take the extra step of taking self-custody is what it's called, putting it in your own wallet that you're in control of.
There's when you guys answer those things, there's so many additional questions that I think about and so many different places that we can go with it. And it's, I guess,
and Jim, your audio's fine. It's just a little bit quiet. I don't know if your mic turns up at all.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I somehow turned it down. How about that? Is that better?
We can hear you still. It's fine. It's just a little quieter, but I think we're fine.
Okay. I'm sorry.
There's an easy way to turn it up, then do it. If not, we're fine.
Okay. There probably is an easy way, but my technical skills are not.
Sure.
So, you know what it's kind of like if you know there's a problem, then you'll know what to do, right? If you know what's happening, you'll know what to do. So I think I really like that about your guys' message because you start with the problem. The problem is what's happening to our money, right? And the problem is we're told to hold that money in Wall Street and different places like that. And all of that money that is sitting there is being debased. There's a tax threat to it. There's all kinds of stuff that people don't want to think about or talk about. And it's because of the noise, right? They hear, hey, if I don't put my money in a 401k, then I'm going to be behind. Everybody else is doing that. And look, if it's wrong, if we're all going down, we're all going down together. Well, that's the opposite of breaking away. And when we started this conversation about corporate America and all of that, it's that noise. And, Nelson Nash used to say the majority's never been right about anything, right? And I love that quote because it's so true. So, all right, well, so how do people learn more about what you guys do specifically, or how do they see if they're a good fit for you guys? What's the best way?
Yeah, so really quick. So what we do is we found that, not only can you set yourself free and be your own bank, like Corey nailed perfectly, being censorship resistance, where you're the one that can actually make the decisions with your own money without a third party needing to say whether or not you can, is we focus on making passive income in cryptocurrency. Or once again, if you're your own bank, well, then you have all the benefits that banks do with your own money. And one of the big benefits is making obscene amounts of money with your money in your own bank. And so we do that through the blockchain, where once again you maintain access to all of your own crypto. There's a ton of different really cool strategies that we utilize. One, for instance, you could go and make 20% on your money every year just on your dollars if you didn't want to experience any of the volatility in crypto. You can just go make 20% right now, and it's really simple. Once you set it up, you can forget about it. There's a million different strategies that we employ, and far more aggressive ones where on average, most of our guys, including us, make 50 to 80% on our money before appreciation. And that's one of the things that's so exciting about cryptocurrency right now. Cryptocurrency works at least so far on 4-year cycles, where you have about a year to a year and a half of parabolic increase, followed by about a year to 2 years of downside. And then you have, another 6 months to a year of sideways action before the cycle repeats again. And right now, Jim, is the time where we are leading up to the next parabolic run. There's this event called the Bitcoin halving that once again happens about every 4 years. It's coming up in April of 2024. And once again, historically, from that point, we've got about a year to a year and a half of parabolic upside. And so you want to front run the crowd historically. You want to get in before that event happens, or even if you're shortly after, you should still see some really nice upside. And that's where people can get some of these insane returns. For instance, one of our friends, this last cycle, this last parabolic run, turned $3,000 into $900K in less than a year. And that's no trading. That's just buying the right asset at the right time, holding it, being patient, making a little passive income the whole way. And so that's what we do. That's how we do it. That's what we're about. And I'm telling you, there's nothing that you can do. You couldn't invest in stocks. You couldn't buy real estate. You couldn't build a business. In fact, you could combine all three of those things, and you would be more profitable just buying the right cryptocurrency right now and sitting on your hands for a year to 2 years. It's wild. There's nothing like it. So that's what we do. We teach people how to make passive income in crypto. And if they want to find us, probably the best way is going to be you can send us a direct message on Facebook. You find both of us, Dane Bollwinkel, Corey Geary. Facebook's great. We're on Twitter. You can find Corey Geary on Twitter. For me, it's at moneytalk_Dane on Twitter. Feel free to send us a direct message. We're just here to help. If we could provide value, we'd love to do that. If you wanted to come into a like-minded community that's doing this stuff every single day, we've got almost 120 members right now that are some of the highest business people, real estate entrepreneurs, infinite banking people that are doing really big things right now. And the intention with our group, and nobody's doing this, the intention is to take the best way to make money right now, which in our opinion is cryptocurrency. Once again, it's 12 to 24 months from now to be able to take profits, to be able to maximize your returns there. And then the intention is to be able to go and turn those returns into more passive income and put money in crypto or in real estate, in businesses. We could accelerate things through an infinite banking policy so that we can use our money effectively. We can offset taxes, and we can have real world assets and grow our wealth in a way that's very sustainable. There's nobody combining all this stuff together. We are the hub to be able to do all of that stuff at the same time. And our guys are absolutely crushing the game right now.
Dane, I love that answer. That was great. Last whatever number of minutes that was. That was awesome. Okay. They tell me there's only so many minutes that people listen to podcasts and they move on. So let's kind of do a fire round of these next two questions real quick, and we'll wrap it up. But really appreciate all the information. And here's the other thing is right now people think, well, it's not a good time for real estate. Interest rates are too high. This or this. It is a great time for crypto right now. And
yes.
So that's something that timing is everything. All right. Real quick, what's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
I mean, I'll go first on that. I mean, the best advice ever given to me was when I began my entrepreneurship journey. I got my ass handed to me, and I lost $250,000, which was my life savings, my money from my 401k. Is, hey, you need to join masterminds. You need to get mentorship. You need to, basically pay or pay to cut in line so you can accelerate your learning experience. And man, that was the most truest advice, because once I started doing that, that's when I started really making a lot of money, not only in real estate, but then also in crypto and everything in my life. I've been doing it. In fact, I even did it for a little bit. I have a 2-year-old now, but when I was at home in Arizona, I'm in Puerto Rico now, but when I was in Arizona, I even paid a little bit for mentorship on how to raise an infant, right? And so like, I'm willing to always pay for someone else's life experience is what I'm willing to always do.
Great advice, Corey. All right, Dane.
My neighbor's been an incredible mentor for me since I've been an entrepreneur for about 8 years. He said, Dane, everything works. Just about everything works as long as you do. And I think that can't be overstated. Most people, whether it be at your job, whether it be building a business, whether it be in your relationship with your significant other, most people that have issues in those realms is because they're often just not putting in the work. And so I've found that if you put in the work, almost everything works as long as you do as well.
I love that. Okay, last question. If God came down from heaven and only allowed you to retain the knowledge that you've received from one book that you've read, what would that book be, and not the Bible?
Not the Bible. This is a tough one. So if it's only one book, I would say it's going to be Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Love it.
I love that book. But I gotta drop 2 more books on here. Right. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. But Outwitting the Devil for me, it's got to be that one.
Well, those are 3 great books. I have read all 3 of those books, and Joe Dispenza. I had to open my mind a little bit to Dr. Joe, and once I did. It's great, and I agree with you. And we're going to put all these books in the show notes. So those are 3 books that, in the audience, if you haven't read them, go read them. And just have an open mind on Dr. Joe's book, because it kind of blows your mind a little bit, right? So, yeah. All right, Dane, how about you?
I would add, in addition, Michael Singer is one of my favorite authors. Changed my life in a huge way. I would add The Untethered Soul is kind of like the nuts and bolts of how he lives his life and his philosophy about life. And then the Surrender Experiment is his other book, and it's kind of like his philosophy at work in his life and his experiences. And for me, it was easier for those principles to stick from having more real life examples. So the Surrender Experiment is one of my most favorite books. I would say probably my favorite business book I've ever read.
Love it. I have not read that, so I'm gonna now I have another book to add. Hey guys, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a lot of fun. I think I could probably talk to you guys for hours. The mastermind stuff, and that's how we met, is through the mastermind. And I would tell everybody out there, find what you're interested in, find a good mastermind with good like-minded people. And it's all about freedom. This whole show is about freedom. What Corey and Dane do is about freedom. And it's to help you. It's not to try to sell you anything. It's really to free you. And if, Jesus asked, do you want to be healed? So that's the question of the day. Do you want to be healed? And to help you with your mindset, we're going to wrap this up like we do every show with the great words of Earl Nightingale and The Strangest Secret. Take it away, Earl.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to hear what was shared on today's podcast. If you are looking to discover new wealth building strategies, then go to community.createtailwind.com. That's community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free courses and in-depth training videos designed to help you build wealth and break away from the herd. Click the link in the show notes to access the community today. Thanks again for listening.